Hi, it's Ian from the Postal Hub podcast.
And Marek from Last Mile Experts.
And we are the Last Mile Prophets. This is the last word on the last mile. Marek, news out of France that Colis Privé is preparing for an IPO. IPOs in the last mile. There's a lot happening, isn't it, in 2021? It's almost as if the last mile is hot. Marek.
The last mile is very hot. And I have to say, Poland is hot. And I think France is becoming very hot as well, because if you remember, not so long ago, we had Mondial Relais. Let's see if I can get as good a French accent as you. And now we have Colis Privé, which is part of the Hops Group.
So Colis Privé, I'm just going to read from the article here. It's filed its first documents for an IPO. And it says here it wants to expand overseas, starting with Belgium, Luxembourg, and Morocco.
Morocco's an interesting one, isn't it?
Morocco is an interesting one. Would it be a French-speaking thing, perhaps? Not sure. And just to sort of fill in a bit of the background, for those of you who might not remember, Amazon is, of course, a shareholder in Colis Privé. Now, Marek, correct me if I'm wrong. I have a feeling that they used to have a shareholding of about 25%.
Correct. So the story was Amazon had a quarter and they wanted an awful lot more. But then you might remember this here, and the French regulator said, no, boys, because...
No, in fact. Yes.
No. He said, no, because you will be making the market less competitive, which is quite interesting. And the argument being that Amazon is a closed network. They didn't sort of notice that La Poste is a closed network, which has 2/3 of the market, if not more.
And I wonder if they'd get the same answer now, though, Marek, because Amazon is opening up its delivery network to more companies.
I think it might be more difficult, but you may not remember the 1970s, but I'm an old chap, so I do. And you had one customs agent sitting in the port in the south of France, passing through the Japanese video recorders. Took a lot of time. So, if the French government really decides they want to make something tricky, then everything is possible. Now, maybe I'm being a bit unfair here.
Well, Amazon now has a shareholding of 9.65% of Colis Privé. But interesting here, Colis Privé's full year revenue grew by 46% in 2020. Now, a lot of companies saw big growth, Marek, and you might have typically seen revenue growth of 25%, but so 46 is not inconsiderable. So what do we think here, Marek? I mean, they said they're going to use the money to expand. What are your thoughts?
First thought is interesting. And as we've discussed, there must be some reason. I mean, their head office is based in the south of France. So maybe that somehow has a link to Morocco. I'm trying to work out why Morocco, because it probably wouldn't be the first place I'd think of. But also, I'm almost wondering whether step one shouldn't be to get their act in order in France, because I recall about a year and a half ago, there were several articles about them having huge problems. So it'd be interesting to see what their financials look like. Is this growth related to the fact that the year before was pretty bad? I don't know. But it would be very interesting, first of all, to understand what's behind it. Is it really as good as it looks? Is it really a plan for international development, or does Hops Group want a bit of money? And everybody knows that last mile IPOs are pretty hot, as you mentioned earlier. I don't know.
You mentioned earlier about Mondial Relais and InPost, and how that might be, sort of focusing people's attention a little bit. So if there's a little bit extra competition, maybe Colis Privé thinks, well, we need to get a bit more funding to be able to, expand, but also remain competitive.
And I think that could be part of it, because with a new and dangerous competitor in the market, things could become a little bit more difficult. Maybe I'm becoming cynical in my old age, Ian.
Well, let's say difficult, just more competitive, more exciting, some people would say. There was another deal I read about the other day relating to Amazon and Casino. I'm not sure how you pronounce it.
The Casino Group.
Yes. There is activity in the French market, isn't there?
Honestly, other than the fact that I love France for the wonderful food and wine, France last mile is super cool. There's a lot of opportunity. First of all, it is pretty developed. The out of home and the PUDOs are pretty good. I think there's a lot of opportunity in lockers, and there's a lot of opportunity because the French retailers are pretty strong. And I think that they're open to test new ideas. They see a need. So I think we're going to see a lot of exciting developments, and I think some new and innovative developments in the French market.
And I know we're getting a little bit off topic here, but it is related because it is about France, I suppose. There's quite a bit of talk in places like France around having an urban logistics hubs. I know that La Poste DPD has been doing some work here, setting up a local delivery hub, and it might be focused on electric vehicles, alternative powered vehicles, or pedal powered delivery and things like that, to responding to, in some instances, responding to pressure or legislation or regulation from local government or regional government or federal government. So I think that's going to be part of the fueling of innovation in a place like France, or even parts of Western Europe, is the demands placed on the last mile by regulators and by governments.
I think so. And there really is some interesting stuff happening. Perhaps our friend Florian from Pickup would like to comment below, because they're doing a lot of stuff in this space. I actually have to say, I remember about 4 years ago talking to Paul Ambroise, who's the boss of Pickup, and he had some really innovative ideas then. And the things that are happening now are actually, I think, the final stages of those ideas. So watch this space. France is going to be interesting.
So lots happening in the last mile in France. And we've hardly mentioned La Poste, but of course La Poste has not just DPD, but it has the various other subsidiaries, whether it's Chronopost, Chronofresh, and so on and so forth. So there is plenty of thinking, plenty of innovation in the French last mile. But as we always say, Marek, comment below, everybody, what you think. I mean, what have we missed? Are there key points here that we haven't been aware of? Why is Morocco part of all of this for our friends at Colis Prive? Is there something about the Moroccan market that we don't know about? Is it booming, Marek? We don't know.
Could be. My gut tells me that there's some historic connections between Hops Group, which is a much larger group there. That there must be some reason why. But maybe somebody from Hops or my ex-Amazon pal Philippe Lemar, who is quite familiar with what's happening there, maybe he'd like to comment below. It's quite an interesting topic.
So there we have it. Just a quick look at what's happening in the last mile in France, particularly with the potential IPO of Colis Privé. And we didn't really just say they're going to plough the money into parcel lockers, Marek, which is probably what everybody thought we were going to say. They're just going to spend the money on parcel lockers. No, they're expanding cross-border. They've said as much. But who knows, maybe there will be a little bit of money left over for parcel lockers, Marek. But comment below, everybody. Marek, any final comments before we wrap up?
Yeah, I think it's one to watch. It was a market that traditionally was pretty closed, and it was effectively a one-horse race. That is changing. So I think it would be great to get some comments, but also, Ian, I think in about 6 months' time, we should review and see where it has taken us.
Right. Well, comment below, everybody. As we always say, Marek Różycki, thanks for being part of the Last Mile Profits today.
Thank you, Ian. Thank you, everyone.